welcome to you all at home.
You've still got a chance to win this race, haven't you?
Just drive. I wanna be the only one to make it feel
Hey guys, Harrison Woman back at it once again for a brand new video for you, and welcome to episode 6, season 2 of Dre TV, where we talk some Formula 1 with some F1 2014 in the background. I've got to say a special thank you to a good friend of the show, James Doherty, aka Mr. TRL Limitless, for the footage you're watching right now. In case you didn't know already, he's probably one of the best, if not the best, league racer on the planet right now, who's still active anyway, and he's a brilliant league racer and a very, very nice bloke. If you haven't subscribed to him already, do so. The link will be in the description. He's a top bloke, and he's one of the probably the fastest growing YouTuber out there right now. So subscribe to him. He's a good dude. In this episode, we're going to be talking some Caterham. Hence why I borrowed his gameplay. Really, don't worry. I asked him first. Yeah, it's kind of a contrast compared to the Mauritia story, where with Mauritia, they seemed to bow out with real dignity and grace, and they made sure their staff was given some redundancy pay on the way out, and Mauritia's fallout and them leaving F1 was more sad than anything else, given that they had a terrible backstory and some real genuinely amazing moments before falling away. I mean, Mauritia going from a flat out nothing team to points in 4 seasons is an unbelievable achievement for a brand new entity, and that's something they can take a lot of pride in. With Caterham, it seems to be a mess, and that's putting it mildly. It basically, I think the best way of describing it is one word that begins with cluster and ends with a word beginning with F. It's been a mess, and there's no real better way of describing it, to be honest. It doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. The last 2 weeks have been absolutely bonkers, with Caterham pulling out of the sport by the looks of it, but then setting up a crowdfunder to get money to be able to make it to Abu Dhabi so they could collect their constructors' payment, and all the nuances that comes with that. And I'll get to that later in the video, but let's talk about their owner status. Tony Fernandez used to own the team. He owns a lot of entities like Caterham's Moto2 venture, as well as QPR Football Club, which you may or may not know. But it was agreed they was going to be selling his team. I think it was during the mid-season break, the summer break in F1. He was announcing he was selling the team to a consortium, I think, of Swiss and Middle Eastern anonymous buyers led by lead advisor Colin Coles and former F1 driver Christian Albers. It turns out that money has not come through for the team yet, and there's still confusion over who owns what parts of Caterham. And trust me, if I tried to explain everything on here properly, this video would be half an hour long. And my best advice I can say is look at Joe Saward's blog, The Journalist. He writes a really, really good blog, with some real in-depth knowledge. But it seems to be Caterham seems to be broken up and owned by a lot of separate different entities. Contracts have been switched over, and there seems to be a lot of confusion as to who owns what at this point, and the internal structure of Caterham as a company at this point. And as a result, the money still hasn't changed hands properly for this team, and the whole thing seems to be a bit of a mess right now, more than anything else. And yeah, it's not straightforward at all, and I don't think we'll get any straightforward answers for at least a little while yet, which is just ugh. The whole thing is just awful. It's a mess, and like Fernandez is still talking like he's been screwed. The consortium are saying that we're the ones that are being missed out here. It's basically a giant game of who's fibbing, basically, more than anything else, and the confusion is just off the charts, and it's a mess, and the whole thing is just terrible. But moving on, it was announced a couple of days ago that 230 of Caterham staff has been let go, which again is just an awful situation. And I think there's strong talk that the people that are working for Caterham in Abu Dhabi this weekend, it's a minimal team, and I think they're working for free more than anything else. Again, more about that in the crowdfunding section, but mentioning Joe Saward again, he put up a really good article about this today, talking about how he got a tip from someone who works at Caterham, an anonymous tip from someone working at Caterham, who essentially said that the staff have been let go while they're celebrating the crowdfunding success, while at the same time they haven't been paid for nearly 2 months. 2 months of non-existent pay. Like, these people have got families to feed, they've got children to look after, they've got to eat, and going 2 months without any income is never an easy situation to deal with. So for that to be going on right now is nasty, and I'm guessing the people that used to work for Caterham are probably going to be feeling really bitter, given the fact, probably bitter and upset knowing that this is a team that's celebrating going to Abu Dhabi so they can collect their constructors' payment and celebrate them being on the grid when they've just let 90% of their staff go, which is not a good situation at all. It's nasty, and I feel sad that a team feels the need to celebrate such an occasion when they've actually let go of almost their entire set of employees. It's ugly. There's no other way of describing it. It's an ugly situation. And, my heart goes out to the Caterham employees that, Christmas is coming and all that, and they've got to buy presents, they've got to look after their families, and when you've not been paid for 2 months, that makes it even tougher. And I hope they can find work elsewhere, because it's not good. It's not an easy situation, and they deserve better treatment than what they've got. Like, no company working for a supposed professional business should have to go 2 months without getting paid. That's ridiculous. Which leads me to their crowdfunding campaign. Yes, Caterham, of all people, launched a Kickstarter to try and get enough money to make the grid. And the thing is, I think they were asking for something like £2.3 million to make the grid for Abu Dhabi. And they haven't made their initial Kickstarter goal yet, but despite that, they've actually announced they are going to Abu Dhabi and they've got enough money to at least make it, despite they've extended their deadline by 8 days. So they weren't going to make their original Kickstarter target, but it looks like they've extended that for another 8 days. It looks like they're going to go out there, spend the extra money, and hope the Kickstarter will back them up, when Abu Dhabi finishes on the Monday, or the Monday after Abu Dhabi, the final race of the season, because they still haven't met their goal yet. To put that into perspective, like Project Brabham, in their return to Grand Prix racing, at least I think from a not GP2 but from a WEC standpoint, phase 1 of their project only just made their 30-day Kickstarter, and they were asking for $250,000 compared to the multiple millions that Caterham are asking for. And there was something a bit shady about Caterham's crowdfunding, in the sense of the average person has seemed to be donating like over 500 quid. That is a lot of money per person, and I think initially it was even more lopsided. Like the average donating was putting over 4,000, which I think was just ridiculous. Like, not to mention the donations can be anonymous. So it's like, so where are they getting this money from? Like, it could be anyone for all we know, which is a little bit shady, but that raises its own set of moral problems more than anything else. So yeah, like, I just never, people have questioned me on this one because I've never been the most active endorser of this Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign. My response has always been this: I haven't got a problem with crowdfunding itself. I've supported many a Kickstarter for many different things, like bringing back Reading Rainbow, and things like the classic Game Rooms comic book project, which I thought they deserve it because Mark's a really good dude. Things like that. So I've funded Kickstarters before and things like that. That's not the problem I have. The problem I have is that why should we be giving money to a failed business? Like, it's not like it's a charity or anything, or for a good cause. It's for a company who's failed. A company that's failed, they've not run their budgets or accounts properly, and have ultimately gone away. Now, I'm not dissing anybody who does donate, because obviously we in Formula 1 seem to think we're a family, and fans will want to see a team on the grid, even if it's a shit one, unfortunately. So, fans have got every right to donate their money, and I'm not dissing anybody who does, because That's your money, you have every right to do that. But at the same time, I just didn't feel comfortable with the idea of, crowdfunding. And, crowdfunding a team that has failed. And, it's like they're picking away at a corpse. It's like, the team is dead, guys. It is clearly dead. But it's like they're trying to resuscitate a dead body. And it's like half an hour later, and they still have, the defibrillators on the dude's chest, thinking he might come back. And it's ugly. There's no other way of describing it besides ugly. Especially when they have to extend their crowdfunding campaign when they didn't make their initial target in time. But on top of that as well, you've got the story of Alice Powell, who was trying to get into Caterham's F1 seat, which really annoyed me as well. Like, they were offering Caterham like £35,000 to take part in free practice 1. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, the problem I have with Alice Powell doing this, her PR team was beyond freaking stupid. Really, more than anything else. I said her PR team needs a bit of work because essentially their argument for getting Powell into F1 was because she's a woman. Like, Formula 1 needs a woman on the grid. And I'm like, no, that's not what the message should be here. Like, if you want... Like, I have no problem with women trying to get into Formula 1. If they're good enough to get in, whether they're male or female. I mean, I'm a MotoGP fan. Anna Carrasco has more than justified her role in Moto3 by scoring points. She's more than good enough to be there if you put her on a decent bike. I've got no problem with that. The problem I have is that if you want true equality for men and women, judge on talent rather than the fact that she's a girl. A girl should not be given a special spot in Formula 1 just because she's a girl. And this is a woman, Alice Powell, who has not been in any form of motorsport this past year. So, and she hasn't got an F1 super license. And you're offering only $35,000 for a seat when you could pay $45,000 on their crowdfunder for corporate hospitality? Come on, people! Like, her PR team needed some serious work, and I just thought, what a stupid ass story. But yeah, this is just like scratching the surface on what is a clearly very ugly situation at Caterham. Like I said before, my thoughts go out to all those that have been made redundant. Again, I hope you can find work elsewhere, and hope you can find work. And it's not a nice situation at all. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think of the Caterham situation. It seems to be a bit of a mess right now, and yeah, I'd love to hear you guys' take on everything as always. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks again to James for the gameplay. Subscribe to me if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Sayonara.